This message is called Build the Person Before You Need the Person. I see so many people in life that, they'll let a decade go by and they didn't do anything. They just continue to want and hope and dream about stuff, but they never accomplished anything really, right? I was kind of that guy. I was a sales guy and I did work out, exercise, but I never really got in the shape I wanted. I never really, I accomplished some goals in the sales business, but then I lost everything. And then I turned around and I'm like, wait a minute, man, I don't have any skills. The only skills I have is I know how to sell stuff to people. I know how to work out, right? So then when the what hit the fan, I couldn't survive, right? So as a teacher now, I was thinking about it, like how many people go through life, go through decades, and then be like, man, I didn't really accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, right? But here's the key, what I've learned is you got to do stuff, right? So like, say like you like to, you like to exercise or you like to go, you like to build certain things or whatever, right? Well, do it. Do it now. You can have the internet. You can do it. You can go on YouTube. You can find out how to become a master at this stuff. Because in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years, you're going to be the master at it because you did it, right? You built those habits. You built those skills, whatever it is, then your future self, when stuff happens, you'll have more choices. Maybe you can do that thing that you always wanted to do because you've been working on it, right? But don't just sit there and be stagnant. Do something, right? So I did that, right? I went back to school. I hated school, but I went back to it. I'm a teacher now. So I learned to like it. And then I got 3 master's degrees out of it, right? So I kind of mastered it. And I'm really good at it now, right? What I do, right? In the gym working out, I learned how to get myself in great shape by eating certain foods and stopping eating other foods, right? And now I teach people how to do that, right? But just in general, right? You don't have to become great today. A lot of people think, oh, no, I'll never do it because I'm not. No. You got to start developing those habits today, though, right? Whatever it is, that will allow you to become the person you want to become later. You might not know what you want to do. Like a lot of young people, they might not know. My students, they don't know, most of them. So my job is to help them understand, like, well, look, but you can learn new skills and you can, build habits. So that way your future self will have more options because you never know. What if you're doing that thing one day? What if you are the master of it? What if you've been doing that for 10 years and now everybody wants to talk to you about it? You can't just sit there and just think like, oh my God, life is tough right now. No, you got to do something, you guys. Got to do something now because time's going to keep going. You're going to get wrinkles. You're going to be older. You're going to be like, damn, I don't have those skills now. I don't have anything. But I could have did this one thing I always wanted to do, but I never started, right? So start now, right? And the first thing you have to do is you have to have that belief because the belief comes first. And then you can't give up ever. You have to follow through and you have to finish, right? My grandma told me that. Follow through. When you golf, you got to follow through. If you don't follow through, that ball's going to go everywhere, right? In life, if you don't follow through, it's not going to work, right? The same thing goes with bowling. You throw that thing, you have to follow through. Otherwise, the ball's going to go in the gutter, right? So there's a lot of things, right? You got to follow through. Working out, if you don't follow through, you're never going to get in shape. You're never going to be the person you want to be. You look like the person you want to be, right? So, before the habits, before the plan, before the work, you have to believe that you can become better, right? And until I believed I could do it, I kept finding reasons why I could not. And then I'll be frustrated and be like, man, I'm not doing anything, right? But at some point, you got to just decide, no matter what happens, I'm going to do this. That doesn't mean everything will go according to plan. No, it probably won't, right? It means setbacks are not the final say, right? Setbacks, struggle lives right next door to success, right? Seems like it takes forever to get to that next house, right? But you will get there. In college, woo, man, it seemed like I'll never get there, right? Oh my God, going through the bachelor's degree was the hardest one because you're developing those skills, right? So if you guys want to develop them skills, critical thinking skills, and learning how to, basically push through stuff, college is a good way. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I think it is. I'm not saying the information is great that you're going to learn, but you're going to learn information. At least you'll know what that side talks about. Then you can go dig around and find out all the other sides, and then you become a master at whatever you're learning, right? A lot of people just stay there and just believe whatever they tell you in the books. No, you got to go further than that. Life may interrupt you. Things will happen because a lot of things happen in my life, and I'm like, man, I might as well just put my head in the sand and stop now, right? But you might lose some time. So you might have to say, like, man, I thought it was going to be done by now, right? You might get knocked off your course for months or even years, but the goal still matters. You told yourself you're going to do it, so you got to keep building toward it instead of deciding that any delay means your dream is over. Don't use setbacks as an excuse to wait. No, you got to do it. I know it's tough. People die, people get sick, we lose our jobs, we lose our money. And I know it might seem impossible right now, but you can try a little bit, whatever you're going to do, right? Build that habit now, right? Make that plan now. Write it down, take the next steps now. The goal is to get to the point where you're not constantly debating with yourself anymore. You just ignore that part, right? You know what the next step is, and you're going to do it. And nobody's going to stop you, okay? I didn't understand that. School, when I was younger, I didn't understand the value of school, discipline, reading and developing myself. I tell my students that when I was younger, I used to believe I could do it in school. Oh, yeah. My brother and sister did great in school, right? But I couldn't focus. But when I got older, I always knew I could do it. And then it was hard. It was very difficult, right? And the college level work was challenging when I basically didn't do anything in high school, right? But then, I just changed the way I approached learning and work. I pretended like I was in the sales business. I would be working till 9 at night sometimes. I say, oh, it's the same thing. I'm just going to put the time in here, right? I'll have a little chocolate. I'll have a little coffee, keep me focused, so I can be a little bit happier, right? I couldn't read a paragraph. I would fall asleep. I couldn't even read it, right? Thank God for technology. It helped me. And then eventually I was able to read 50 pages in a day. I learned to slow down, one line at a time, make sure I understand it, then the next, right? It might take me much longer than everybody else, but I got there. I remember I was a sales manager for an RV company, and this is so embarrassing. I had 40 people under me that I was supposed to be reading this quote to in front of 40 people, and I couldn't read. I started shaking. This is before I went back to college, of course, right? So somebody else had to read the quote, the John Wooden quote or something, right? So that was embarrassing. That's because I never developed the skills when I was younger, right? And that bugged me, right? But that doesn't mean I was incapable. It's just that I never developed my skills. So you guys start doing now. Start doing it now. Build your habits, build your skills, do what you want to do, become the person you always wanted to be.